G'day and welcome to The Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. And I'm joined in studio by no one. No Thad Taylor, no Stephen Hunt, but as Freddie Mercury said, the show must go on. I think Stephen Hunt's feeling a wee bit under the weather, and being here all alone sort of reminds me of primary school where I had no friends. I feel a wee bit abandoned, and it's not a word you want to hear in the racing game. But I think it gives me a chance to cross now to someone who is here. Well, not here in studio, but up there in Matamata, Brendan Popplewell. Brendan?
Good morning, Paulie. Yes, we won't have an abandonment here, that is for sure, because it is a beautiful, beautiful Friday morning here at Matamata, and they're all set for a Group 1 day. Who would have thought? A Group 1 race day, and a massive day. 12 races in front of us. Just had a quick walk of the track not too long ago, and I tell you what, this track condition is coming back quickly. Throw the heavy form out the window. It is going to be in that soft range. It is currently a soft 7. And the likelihood with the good warm weather that is coming down throughout this morning and into the afternoon that we are likely to push into a 6 range, because the temperature's around 16 to 17 degrees, the high for today and tomorrow. And that just sets things up beautifully. Running rail is back into the innermost, so there is 10 metres of fresh ground from the last meeting, which was back here on the 21st of September. So things are all in readiness, Paulie, for what is going to be a super day and a big day for the club as they hold a Group 1.
Yeah, it certainly looks like a cracker day down there at the moment, and as you say, it looks like that weather will continue into tomorrow. So before we get to that, let's have a look back at what happened last week, and of course the abandonment at Hastings, unfortunately, but we did have a meeting down at Riccarton where we saw Cognito and a number of very good runs in the Guineas trial, and also a huge blowout in the North Canterbury Cup where RU Cereal got up at around $55.
Yeah, that's right. And didn't it look like Campionessa was just about to join in and take the race out halfway down the straight when she was about to join in, but RU Cereal found a way to win that race. You're right about Cognito. Look, Cognito's a horse that is building nicely. A runner that, of course, was second to Sharp and Smart at Ruakaka. We see Sharp and Smart tomorrow across the Tasman in Sydney and really pushed that horse, and it was Sharp and Smart's pure class and ability to get over the top of that runner and win. So Tiako had a great day out, belloed the ball, winning on the turf and winning impressively again, backing up those synthetic victories in the last race of the day. So yes, even though we only had the one domestic race meeting last Saturday, it still paved the way for some of those better races coming up over New Zealand Cup week in Christchurch.
It certainly did, BP. And speaking of having a day, Andrew Forsman had a bit of a day over the ditch at Flemington with Lickety Split picking up the Edward Manifold, Mr. Maestro, also victorious in the Superimpose. Things looking good for Kiwi breds and Kiwi trainers and, well, Kiwi jockeys as well.
Yeah, I mean, Lickety Split looks awfully hard to beat now, doesn't she, on Wednesday's 1,000 Guineas. Mr. Maestro, the same too, with him at the top of the markets for a VRC Derby. So things are set up nicely. And what about the run of St. Bathans on Sunday in the Seymour Cup, running right out of his grade? He was stone motherless, and he's got to the outside, and he has rocketed home to finish into 4th position. They just need to find the right race for him as well, you'd imagine, throughout the carnival, or find a nice country race somewhere. There's a race waiting for him. I know that they've struggled to try and find that right race for him with where his rating is, but they ran him out of his grade, and he ran a super race on Sunday, did St. Bathans. And look, Andrew's team is doing it back home too. So look, their stable is flying at present, and it's great to see him fly that flag across the Tasman, most importantly.
Certainly is, yes. Exciting times for connections of St. Bathans. Well, no Thad, no Steve, so we had to get someone else. And it gives me great pleasure, in fact, to introduce our guest presenter on the Leg Up today. In from Hamilton, he's an author, a journalist, an agent, a presenter extraordinaire, and a very good friend of the Leg Up, Mr. Aidan Rodley.
Well, that's an intro and a half, isn't it? Thanks for that, Paul. You're good to be joining you. Obviously, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel with no deductions. Hopefully, me coming in off the ballots, the BP's price will actually remain for being the top presenter on the show today. You're not going to give me any deductions on that with no Stephen and Thad, but yeah, really good weekend, isn't it? The first time that a Group 1 race has been held at Matamata, so a really auspicious occasion for the club.
Yeah, it certainly is a great day for Matamata racing on Saturday. BP, it's time for the Maiden of the Week. Were you able to find one last week?
Look, we did. And so often I like to find a maiden race of the week, but this time around I'm pretty keen just to identify the one horse who won this Maiden of the Week in La Verite because of how good she was. She was very short in the market, and some would say almost unbackable, but with how she won, maybe she should have been $1.10. So she's looked very good through her trials, and it was just a case of a glorified trial, wasn't this, at Ruakaka? So there's going to be some bigger challenges for her. She's a 5-year-old mare from Cody Cole's barn. She tore up the trial tracks, and now she was able to do it race day. So I think there's some encouraging signs there, Paul, that you can say that even going to that next grade may not be too much of an issue for her, but she's going to have some tougher opposition, no doubting that, but happy just to mark her as a horse that we can clearly identify as a runner to watch for the spring and summer.
Yeah, if you're a keen viewer of the leg up, then you'd do worse than keeping an eye on BP's Maidens of the Week, because they usually go on to bigger and better things. Right, Stephen Hunt's not here, but he's put together 5 races for us to preview today, so we better get on with it. And the first race we're going to have a look at, well, we had a look at it last week. Unfortunately, with the abandonment of the Hastings meeting, it didn't run, but the Arrow Field Stud Plate to be run at Matamata. It's race 9 on the card there. And I'll just have a look at the market now. The favourite, Imperatrice, she gets back in. She's $2. La Creek, $3 into $2.80. Prix de Feu. Now, there was a bit of early money as soon as the market opened on Prix de Feu, $11 into $8. Mustang Valley is solid at 11, has had support as well. Spring Tide, 16 out to 26. Harlech, 18 out to 26. Tiptronic, 31 out to 41. Vernon Me, 31 out to 41. Deerfield, 31s out to 51s. Macedo, 51s. Les Sablier, also at 51. And Green Luck at 61. I think we've got a speed map here. Aidan, do you just want to take us through how you see this panning out?
Yeah, I don't think there's as much speed as what there was last week with no white noise in this race. So I think that really plays in the favour of Tiptronic, who I think will settle on the outside of Deerfield. I think they're the main 2 speed influences there. According to the speed we've got here, Imperatrice and La Creek could be holding up and being the leader. I don't think that'll be the case. I think Deerfield will cross, and I think Tiptronic will come across and sit on the outside of Deerfield. You'd expect that Vernon Me will be somewhere near them in the hunt. Imperatrice perhaps a 1-1 and La Creek 3 back the fence. I would imagine it's like that. This is not as strongly run as what we might have seen at Hastings last week, even accounting for better track conditions. Tricky barrier draws for the likes of Harlech and Spring Tide. Now that might dictate tactics. Also for Mustang Valley, I think they have to go back. I think Prix de Feu's got to go back. Green Luck's obviously going to get back as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting speed map for this Paul, but I expect Deerfield to set them up with Tiptronic on the outside.
Right, BP. We didn't have Imperatrice in this market last week. She slots back in. There was a lot of support for La Creek, Prix de Feu and Mustang Valley last week, and it's the same this week as well. But Imperatrice isn't without friends. How do you see this one going on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to have her added back into the race, doesn't it? Because she is a quality horse. We could see something really exceptional from her tomorrow and even across the Tasman. And the same can be said about La Creek too. These 2 mares are exciting prospects for the New Zealand racing industry, and to have them going head-to-head once again on their home track and now on a different surface. Hawkes Bay, heavy 10, very testing conditions on day 1 of the carnival. Imperatriz didn't want anything to do with Hawkes Bay Middle Day, with how that track was going to play. That didn't happen. Back in play on the home track. Very good exhibition gallop last Friday, where I'm sure those that were not up against Imperatriz and thinking that the Hawkes Bay races was going to be on the next day, thinking, thank God we don't have to come up against Imperatriz. Well, it's now changed again, hasn't it, with her in this race at this venue, a good barrier draw. You can understand why she is at a quote of $2. And I think, too, the same can be said about La Creek. I think we've spoken a lot about waiting for her to get on a better surface. She's going to get that better track tomorrow, and so will that appreciate Imperatriz's chances too. But I think they're two high-class horses, and we could see them, break away from the rest of the pack here. And could we see something really special between our two best mares in the country before they head across to Tasman? I really do hope that happens. And the barrier draws maybe has just given us that opportunity too. I think Aidan's right in terms of just how much pressure there is going to be in the race. Of course, it is a Group 1 race, and you always feel as though there's going to be something else to happen to help the pressure of the race, but that's how it sort of sits at this stage on the map, and it depends on what happens from anything out wide if they want to try and roll the dice at all and try and inject a little bit more pressure into it. But I don't know about you, Aidan, but I'm really excited about being here tomorrow to witness this race, because they are our two benchmark horses here in this country, and in La Creek and Imperatriz, and I really do hope we see something special from both of these horses tomorrow.
One thing about it, Brendan, and this was an early nominations race, but this is a completely new race because Imperatriz hadn't accepted. We didn't see La Sablière there either. But what you're wanting in a Group 1 race is the best field, so you've got to be inviting Imperatriz back in there. That clash with La Creek, who was the real up-and-comer in this race, is really interesting. Just a couple of stats for you around this race. The last 6 winners of what used to be the Windsor Park Plate, now the Yarrafield Stud Plate, were all established Group 1 winners, so you're looking for that type of horse, and that is Imperatriz. You've got a couple of others in there, the likes of Tiptronic, who's also a Group 1 winner. But outside that, there's not too many established at the top level. And of the other thing here, 5 of the last 6 favourites have won. Imperatriz at $2, looking to continue with that role as well. Now, the horse that bucked the trend both times to get us out of that was, if I can go back, was Jelinski Prince, if I've got that right. So that was when it was last moved. Now that race was run not at Hastings but at Trentham, so that's the horse who got it moved. So maybe does the move does that just throw the spanner into the works of all those stats? But really, when we look at this, Imperatriz dominating betting, and she is the class horse. You only have to think back to what she did in that Lisa Chittick Plate on the track when she absolutely blew them away.
Right, the way you're talking, BP, it's sounding like a match race between the two mares, Imperatriz and La Creek, but can you make a case for anything else further down the page? I mean, there was, I said it, early money on Prix de Feu as soon as the market opened, and Mustang Valley was very well supported last week and is again this time round.
Yeah, and for it being a Group 1 race, it's important that it maybe isn't just these two horses clearing out from the rest, because there are some good Group 1 performers in the race. Tiptronic's won 2 Group 1s. Vernon Mee's been 3 times Group 1 place last season. Prix de Feu 3 times Group 1 place last season. Mustang Valley is heading in the right direction. So there's enough in the race, and Harlech as well, Group 1 place last year, and the Livermore in 4th in this race last year. So there's enough in and around these two horses to say that, look, if they're on their game, they can spring a surprise, or at least split the likely quinella between Imperatriz and La Creek. I think Vernon Mee is potentially one of those horses that can get the right run in the race, with having to sit from barrier number 1, can land in a forward position, and might just have that soft run in behind horses. I see him as a strong trifecta first 4 chance. Prix de Feu money, I think you have to be respectful of, because as I said, this horse raced so strongly through the Hawkes Bay Spring Carnival last year with those placings in the Windsor Park, now Arrowfield, and the Livermore, and of course the Captain Cook. So these 2 Group 1 placings in amongst those races last season for Prix de Feu. And what was it, 11s into $8 was the early move around that horse. So I think those type of runners, Harlech included, Mustang Valley, Vernon Mee and Prix de Feu, are all good trifecta and first 4 chances.
Aidan, is there anything down the card that you could point at and say, you've probably got to include this in your exotics, something to box up with the likes of La Creek and Imperatriz?
Oh, I'm not too sure. I think BP's covered off really nicely, actually, because Vunami from Barrier 1 with a Widdamoo pin on, he will really be striving to get that trail in behind Deerfield, I'd imagine. And the inside at Matamata is normally the place to be. I've spoken to a few jockeys who, Sam Weatherly, for example, rides the track really well. Chad Ormsby used to ride the track very well. The inside, you don't want to be going outside those first couple of lanes. Obviously, there's going to be horses such as Imperatriz, who's going to have to make her run 3 wide. She's going to have to peel out of the 1-1 to be coming into the race, but there could be an advantage for Vunami, as BP said. The barrier draw's awful for Harlech. He would have been further up my selections had he been then there, but for me this is all about Imperatriz. Can La Creek get close to her? Who knows? We'll find out on tomorrow, but Imperatriz undoubtedly the yardstick in this year's Arrowfield Stud Plate.
Right, BP, time to put your money where your mouth is. Who are you settling on in the Arrowfield?
Look, I really don't find much between both Imperatriz and La Creek, and I'm just going to roll the dice a touch and just go with a horse who's at around that $283 mark. And maybe you could get a little bit more if the money is super strong around Imperatriz. Could La Creek get to $320, $340? If that's the case, I want to have some. I want to take something if she gets to that type of price. I just don't think there is that much between her and Imperatriz, and on price, I'm happy to be with La Creek if she starts pushing beyond that $3 quote. So I'm keen around the Quinella. I haven't looked it up yet, Paulie, but if you've got a fixed Quinella there for me on Imperatriz and La Creek at this stage?
Yep, I'll get that for you. Where are we? La Creek, Imperatriz, and that is... Where is it? I think we'll just go to Aidan with his best bet for this race, and I'll give you the divvies on that. I'll go very, very soon.
For me, guys, I'm clearly in the camp of Imperatriz. I'd love to see La Creek, just show that she's ready to get to Australia and make this close. But I keep on going back, and I know it's not a Group 1 race, but her performance in the Lisa Chittick Plate. If you're wanting a guide on how she runs Matamata, go back and have a look at that race. She absolutely blitzed on that day, and who knows, she might be able to do that at Group 1 level tomorrow.
Fantastic, thanks Aidan. And BP, that's $2.40 for your fixed Quinella at the moment, Imperatriz and La Creek. Right, we better get a move on because Steve Hunt has given us 5 races to cover. And the next one, race 6 at Matamata. It's the Ahd Hawkes Bay Guineas for the 3-year-olds under set weights. And the favourite there, Dynastic. At $2.10. Second line of betting, bestseller, $3.30, solid there. There's been a wee bit of support for number 3, Desert Lightning, $9 into $7. Pierre, 7 out to $8. Leadox now 15. Andalus, 21s into 15. Mr. Mojo Rising at $26. Accidental Tourist, 31. Soterio, 31. And Channel Surfer, 41. Now, we had a look at this one last week as well, BP, but how do you see this one going tomorrow at Matamata?
Well, I mean, we almost could be saying the same thing here. I mean, the better track conditions, home track, they're going to be key pointers to the favourite and a couple of other horses. The same for Pierre, who's on his home track. A better surface for him for the very first time, but reports are that's not going to be a problem for him. So, yeah, this is a different race. It really is a different race around this particular event, the Hawkes Bay Guineas. And even though Dynastic is drawn where he is he going to be that right sort of pressure early where he can find a slot, Opie Boss? And if that's the case and he slides in somewhere, your 2,000 Guineas favourite might make a statement here tomorrow in the Hawkes Bay Guineas. I guess the one thing I'm a little bit worried about in the race is just with bestseller drawn in barrier number 1. We know that she's a horse who doesn't have the early barrier speed, and the time they've tried to ride her more forward, she got it all wrong in the size produce stakes. So it's all about getting her in the right rhythm, and she could be just in a niggly spot And if Opie can get going at the right time and put the pressure into the race and get a couple of lengths advantage on his biggest danger and bestseller, who's trying to get away from the inside, that might be enough for him to take the race out. So that's a couple of key factors around the race. Look, the El Rocker is a race where he looked done. I thought he, on the point of the bend and how vulnerable he was in the word around him on these type of track conditions, which was a heavy track, how he trialled up on a heavy surface. Look, he just didn't get a lot of confidence really going into the El Rocker, yet he still won. He still found a way to win that race. And Pierre went up alongside and he fought that horse off. I just think with tomorrow's conditions, 1,400 metres, we know he's going to excel once he gets up over a bit further. And 1,600 metres on a big roomy track like Riccarton, he just looks like a horse who's ready made for that type of track. So, yeah, I just can't get away from him, Maiden. And even with his barrier draw, I think if he can find a position and be positive early and there's a little bit of pressure underneath and be able to slide and find a spot here for Opie, he gets the gun spot, he's going to be hard to beat.
There's just no real speed in this race. Who does it come from? I've actually got Mr. Mojo Rising leading for me, and maybe that means that Dynastic can actually sit outside the leader. I think he can be that close from a wide gate. I can't see there being too much pressure. He was very good this day in the Hawkes Bay in the lead up the Sir Colin Meads Trophy. Brought 3 wide and really did run them down and did a good job. Now Pierre goes up and has a look and just sort of basically peaks on his run there. That's a 200 metre mark. He's gone up to challenge, maybe even got his head in front. He'll be a big improver out of this, and especially on the home track. His work last Tuesday, by all accounts, was sizzling, and Darren Weatherly said that he's worked really well this week as well. So he might well be the danger again, especially with that niggly barrier draw for Bestseller, who did race so well at Matamata in the Breeders' Stakes, finishing second last season. I think she's 3 or 4 back the fence from barrier 1. She was obviously really good in the Gold Trail Stakes, though, however. So I think it's around those 3. I'd be throwing a blanket over them. You expect improvement from Pierre, but as BP said, he's shown any amount of ability, this horse Dynastic, and he just might get in the right spot, Paul.
Well, BP did wonder what sort of tactics Opie might employ here. If there's anyone who probably has an idea of what Opie might employ, I'm guessing it's you, Aidan. Any word on how Dynastic might be ridden in the Guineas on Saturday?
That he will normally try and get to a 1-1 type spot. So if he has to go 1 spot further forward, I can't see it being an issue.
Fantastic. BP, we've had a look at Dynastic and Bestseller, the top 2 in betting. How about someone like Leadox, trained by Andrew Forsman, who has a magic touch right now? Can you make a case for Leadox?
Look, I thought his exhibition gallop with Agon was very good. Great Northern Day, a couple of Sundays ago, three Sundays ago maybe now. So he had a good hit out there on a better surface too, which was around that, 6 or 7 that day for Great Northern Day, and galloped up with Agon. I think the better track conditions is going to be suitable for him. Desert Lightning's an interesting horse, because if you go through Desert Lightning's form, look, he's run 4th in a Sistema, and it's a blanket finish. And then he's run second to Sacred Satono, who's then run who's one of those early yardsticks for the 3-year-olds going towards the 2,000 guineas. I like what I've seen from him. I thought his trials were good leading into that first up run. A little bit of money floating about for the horse can be a definite danger if you're trying to look away from these 2 at the top of the market. Look, Lee Finnis made a good point on the form yesterday, just around Accidental Tourist, who's got blinkers on. If you're trying to find one horse who might be looking to go forward, could it be this runner in barrier number 6? I know we haven't seen him in a leading position beforehand, but he does have the blinkers on. If we're trying to find another horse that might go forward, because that's the issue with the race. There is no likely leader in the event. I mean, Mr. Mojo Rising is a horse who's gone forward in his last 2 starts. But there just doesn't look to be that pressure in the race that we're looking for a Group 2 Hawkes Bay Guineas. I think Bestseller is a horse we still need to talk about because of how scintillating her 2 victories have been. I mean, she's announced herself as a filly that's, on the path to the 1,000 guineas. I mean, we have the 1,000 guineas favourite and the 2,000 guineas favourite in this race tomorrow afternoon. And if Bestseller can get that right sort of run, and if she's not too far off them in a challenging position, I mean, we know she can fly. Do not underestimate her if she's in a challenging spot and is not conceding too many lengths to Dynastic on the point of the bend, because she will be rattling home if she can run up to what she's done so far in her 2 runs as preparation.
Right, Aidan. It sounds like you're circling around Dynastic. BP's putting in a case for Bestseller. Where's your money going Saturday?
Yeah, I'm with Dynastic, but probably not as convinced as Brendan sounds like. I thought Pierre and Bestseller were the next 2 in there, and then there's a heap of them around. I think it's a pretty even running of this Hawkes Bay Guineas. The better track maybe just suits Dynastic, but obviously he handled the track at Hastings okay last time out as well. This time round he gets home track advantage, but so too does Pierre. So, yeah, not cut and dried, but I'm with Dynastic, Paul.
And BP, you're... Dynastic or Bestseller or Pierre?
I'm going to go Dynastic. I think he's a ripping colt. He's going to be so hard to beat in the 2,000 Guineas, this horse. And the way that he won first up on track conditions, look, there wasn't his go. Tomorrow it will be around that soft 6 or 7. So, yeah, I'm happy to be on him.
Right, we better hurry up. Got another race to cover at Matamata. It's race 7, the Team Whelan's Matamata Cup, open handicap over 1,600 metres. Top of the market, Mark Walker and Opie Bosson, perfect scenario, $6 into $4.50, very well backed. Ballon Rouge, solid at $5, White Noise, $6, Chevron, drifting from $8 out to $10. Harlock's still in the market there, but I'm fairly sure won't be turning up. Marcus Aurelius, 14 into 11. Amuse Moi, 14s. Cherry Lane also at 14. Crystallise at 16. Red Hussar, $18. Wee bit of specking around Red Hussar. Makushla, 18. The Mare, 21. Joe's Legacy, also 21. Super Sid, 26. Paisley Park at 31s. And Aggie Baby at 31 as well. BP, sort of deja vu. Mark Walker and Tiako at the top of the market.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a broken record throughout the day, isn't it, tomorrow, talking about all these runners in the Tangerine and Opie Bosson and Mark Walker. Yeah, look, this is quite a hard race. This is a very open race, and I think the dynamic of it's changed with the track conditions now. There's a few heavy trackers here that would have loved the fact that this Matamata Cup was on a heavy 10, say 3 or 4 days ago. Now we're in a better zone of 6 and 7, just brings a few others into the race, and maybe some of those horses that were specced in the market thinking that it was going to be a heavy track, look, they might start pushing back out. I have a lot of respect for Ballon Rouge in this race. I know she's got a slightly niggly barrier draw, but she's a horse that'll look to try and find a spot and hope that there's enough pressure in front of her to try and roll over the top. Look, we know how good she is. I mean, she was a leading 3-year-old from last season. She's a Group 1 winner of the New Zealand Oaks. And potentially this could set things up for next week. I know that she's looking towards the Livermore. I mean, there's some horses here that have their eyes on that particular race. White Noise has come back, I think, terrific with how he's performed. First of all, in his first run back, they were looking at the Group 1, decided to go this path. And look, I guess it just makes things a little bit different for that Livermore Classic with what we see with some horses here and also some horses in tomorrow's Group 1 with them looking to try and back up and go into the Livermore over 2,040 metres next Saturday. So that just throws a different curveball into things towards that race. I find it a tricky race, but I do like Ballon Rouge with where she sits at the moment at around that $5 mark.
Aidan, perfect scenario, and Ballon Rouge dominate the market at the top there. How about someone like a White Noise, who has looked very, very good last start, fresh up, winning?
Well, why not? The only concern is that really wide barrier draw, which does dictate tactics to some degree. Either they're going to have to work pretty hard to cross 15 runners to get to the speed with a non-claiming 3-kilogram apprentice on, or else you're going to have to try and find a spot somewhere. And it's just not going to be an easy scenario for White Noise. Undoubtedly, he's got the ability to be winning this from the minimum as well. Just bear in mind, Opie Bosson's a kilogram over on perfect scenario. Is he the best horse in this race? I'm not so sure. So 450 is getting short enough. Ballon Rouge, as BP said, on 53 kilograms for a Group 1 winner, who will be backing up into the Livermore Classic next week, all going well. There's some sort of hope there as well. It's not a cut and dried case. Geez, if they ran Harlech in this race instead of the Group 1, even with 60 kilograms, he'd take some beating, wouldn't he?
Certainly would. Look, there's been a wee bit of specking in that middle market, BP. The Nicholas Bashara trained Cherry Lane, 21 into $14, and Red Hussar, 31 into 18s. Can you make a case for either of those two?
Yes. Look, the Red Hussar, the locally trained horse, certainly would have been aided. Track conditions are going to be soft tomorrow still, so that's right in that horse's wheelhouse. Second up this preparation. It was good last campaign. It's been good for the last couple of seasons, Red Hussar. Cherry Lane, I'm guessing the track condition in the heavy bracket would have been more her go, but she's had a great record here on this course. I mean, she's won 3 of her 10 races here at this course, but I just wonder with those track conditions changing throughout the week, where that heavy support was. That was one of those horses I was sort of identifying, 21s to 14s. Was it down to the heavy track and the likely improvement to a soft maybe just sees her price starting to work out? I think away from the favourites, this could be quite a hard race to work out what will finish in the money. There is a host of chances here as trifecta and first four hopes. I'm just pinning my hopes on Ballon Rouge running well here and then potentially being a good, solid chance for next week's Livermore.
Right, Aidan, time to put your stake in the ground and tell us where you're sort of heading in regards to the Mata Mata Cup.
Okay, I'm going to go right from left field here and go with Amuse Moi, a horse who did win a trial at Foxton on Tuesday. I got a call from Lisa Allpress during the week after that trial, said this horse is bang on. They've changed a bit, not hanging anymore, ran straight, and they're pretty happy with the way Amuse Moi is going into this race. They had considered a late entry into the Arrowfield Stud plate last week at Hastings when the track was a little bit wetter, so now they're taking an easier option after a really impressive trial win. I see you're on the drift, Paul, but at $14 might be some value.
Oh, that will be very, very tasty. Okay, BP, I'm guessing you're more towards the top of the market?
Yeah, I am. And look, when you're hearing things like that about Amuse Moi, that's just one of those horses. There's about 6 or 7 of them that fall into that category of needed for multiples. I think Marcus Aurelius is one of those horses too that will be a big improver on a better surface tomorrow. That horse is hovering around $11. Michael McNabb aboard. There's been some support for that horse. The Copeland's winner. I feel as though maybe he's a horse that we need to respect in the marketplace too.
Okay, I think it looks like we're pretty much at the halfway stage or intermission part of the show. So it's time for a minute with me. And this week, I think we're talking to a trainer. Let's have a look.
Sean Ritchie, 36, coach of the New Zealand women's hockey's team, Olympic gold this year is our main set plan.
Who has been your biggest influence in racing?
In racing, that would be my father, probably Trevor McKee, Colin Gillings, guys like that.
Very good. What was the first car you owned?
I meant to say not Alan Sharrock and Stephen Marsh. First car I owned was Birth of the Bomb. Used to have to get in it like, you ever see the Dukes of Hazzard where you got to get in the window?
Jump in, yeah, through the window?
On the side, couldn't open the door. So that was the first one.
Beautiful. Toilet paper, over or under?
Oh, you got to go backwards. You got to go backwards for sure.
Most famous person in your phone contacts?
Stephen Marsh.
Your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, Jesus.
I haven't heard that one before.
No, yeah. Now you got me thinking, because I've got a voice from the angels, so it's quite easy for me to just come through with it. I'd go with sailing.
Beautiful. Your favourite NRL team?
Oh, the Roosters.
Favourite junk food?
American hot dogs.
Beautiful. Who should be All Black coach?
Bring back Steve Hansen.
Who has it easier, jockeys or trainers?
Oh, jockeys for sure. They get to sit down all day.
Your favourite board game?
Chess, because I'm very intelligent.
Union or league?
Union.
Favourite cocktail?
I've just been in Fiji mojitos, mate. Can't beat a mojito in a swim-up bar.
Fill in the blank. The best Barrack brother is your first celebrity crush.
Dude, that'll show. If I do that, then I won't make it sound like I'm 36. I'll go with Cameron Diaz.
Which player would you most like to see at the Warriors next season?
Maiden Barrett.
Favourite horse you've trained?
I'll train. Keep the peace.
You can invite 3 people to a dinner party. Who are they?
George Simon, Andrew Campbell, and my mum, because she'd sort them out.
Fantastic. Race you'd most like to win?
Cosplay.
A horse we should be keeping an eye out for this season?
Costanza Riona Cosplay, so of course I want to try and beat him. The Racketeer.
Fantastic.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Righty-ho. Thanks to Sean Ritchie for having a chat. It was very, very kind of him. A very, very entertaining man, as I'm sure you two already know. Look, we're going to stick with Matamata. One more race there. Race 5 on the card. It's the Comag Limited 1400 for the 3-year-old, set weights and penalties. Let's see. Well, yeah, it's deja vu. Mark Walker, Opie Boston, Stella Splendida. $2 into $1.90. However, may not have it all its own way, because Denby Road has been very, very well supported. $3.80 into $3.50. Ryanok, $7.50 solid. The Intimidator, 11s into 9s. Hanalei, 13 into 10. Battle Sound, 11 out to 13. And Goldberg, 15 out to 16. BP, Stella Splendida. Is that it in one?
Yes. I'm very torn here because, look, I've had a bet in the futures market in the 1,000 guineas and 2,000 guineas race, and I've backed Denby Road and Stella Splendida to win both those races at big prices. So I'm really keen to see these horses run the Quinella and which way it is, and they both run well. I'm probably not too bothered as long as they both can show that they're on the right path. That fixed Quinella, actually, just looking at it, is $2.80 around Stella Splendida and Denby Road. First of all, Denby Road. If the horse can jump and put himself in the race like there was a high expectation of him doing at Tauranga, instead, I think he still would have learned a heck of a lot with this performance, with what he's done, the big boy. If he can get into a position where, could he get in front of Stella Splendida? Could he jump and get in front of that horse would be a massive advantage to him. Stella Splendida, though, on a better surface tomorrow, she's got change-up speed. There's a lot of good chat about her being a very good filly for this season. Could she just explode out of the pocket and run down Denby Road? So that's what we could be looking at here tomorrow. Or could he kick away and get away from her? So look, at this stage, I keep changing my mind. I'm trying to run the race through my head 100 different ways. At this stage, Paul, I think I might just tuck into that $2.80 in that fixed Quinella.
Wow, you're really enjoying these fixed Quinellas today, BP. It's great to see. Aidan, is it a case of just those two at the top there?
Maybe, yeah. Battle Sound was really impressive on the home track last time out as well. The Intimidator is set to get a really soft lead in this race, you'd think. Hanley was winning a Wellesley Stakes last year by a fair bit. There's a fair bit of ability in this race, top to tail. Really good race, and I'm pleased they left it on, even with that Hawkes Bay Guineas there. I've got to be with Stella Splendida, even though my colleague George Simon will be very keen on seeing Denby Road tipped out, but what she did the other day looked as though she is a superstar in waiting, so really keen on Stella Splendida.
Well, Aidan, while you're still there, if we're looking to play the exotics here, who do you see sort of lopping in behind the likes of Stella Splendida and Denby Road?
I reckon it's really even and behind. I think you could just about put the lot in. There's no tail to this field. There's absolutely none. The field is actually fairly even. Maybe those two that we've spoken about, Denby Road and Stella Splendida, had just got a little bit more top-end quality, but in behind them, I think it's really even. And not a cut-and-dried race either. If you ask me for one, maybe the Intimidator, just based on the map.
Okay, BP, you've I guess given us another fixed odds Quinella. Can you make the picture a wee bit clearer in behind though?
Well, I think Hanalei is a horse we need to respect. Her Wellesley victory last season. She ran 4th in Matamata Breeders here at this venue, so they're good pointers towards her. I would look, scrap what happened last time, just forget it even existed. Her run last time out to the races behind Bestseller in the Gold Trail. We see her on a better track tomorrow. So I think she's a horse we just need to identify at a bit of a price that could be lurking around that $10 or $9 quote that you'd need to be considering if you're trying to play a cover in a quaddie or something like that. But yeah, I'll take the 280 though around Stella Splendida and Denby Road in the fixed quin.
Right, Aidan, you're also of the same sort of thinking, the same sort of lines that BP's going with, Stella Splendida and Denby Road?
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit on the fence like BP. I'm going to go Stella Splendida.
Fantastic.
But we're making money here.
We've got another meeting. We've got another meeting on Saturday in the Central Districts, Hawera, and we're going to look at one race there, race 5, the Grange Williams Stud Taranaki Breeders' Stakes. It's for the fillies and mares, weight for age conditions over 1,400 metres. Looking at the market right now, Darcy Labella and Mr. Taranaki himself, Alan Sharrock, $3.80 into $3.30. Secret of More, $3.80 out to $4.50. Jodlin Gal, $8 into $6.50. Zola Express, $8. Victor M, $8.50. Belclair, $10. Oscilletta, $16. I'm a Rockaby, $16. Queen of Spades, $21. Raced Evens, $31. Sandy Bell, $31. And Hot Chocolate, $41. Belaconte, $51. BP, looks fairly wide open, doesn't it?
Look, it does. I mean, Darcy Labella was quite impressive last time to the races. She makes her way up to 1,400 metres. Just quickly double-checking track conditions here. Heavy 10 at this stage out of Hawera. They do have some fine conditions currently there, but the heavy 10 rating for our race meeting tomorrow out of this venue. I do like Jodlin Gal as a little bit of a sneaky in the race. I see there has been some money for the horse too, Paulie, as you mentioned. And Secret of More. Look, they're two horses I feel that are massive dangers to the favourite in Darcy Labella, who does pick herself with what she's done currently and how she won out of Te Rapa. She moves up to that 1,400 metres for just the second time in her career. But there was nothing wrong with what Jodlin Gal did in the Group 1. I mean, this horse ran 6th in behind Dark Destroyer, beaten, what a margin of around 6 lengths. Look, I thought she just might be a chance here with conditions to suit her. Yeah, I was just happy to sort of give her a decent chance, and maybe $8 was the over in the marketplace here around this horse. Secret of More, again, very good last campaign. Super run first up to the races when finishing on out wide and behind Deerfield, who takes his place tomorrow in the Group 1. So I do feel like there's some good bit of depth in around the well-found horse in the marketplace, and they've been, of course, Alan Sharrock's Darcy Labella.
Aidan, if we look further down the page, we've had money for Belclair, and Lily Sutherland is riding like a dream at the moment, $13 into $10. Is Belclair someone that you could have in your numbers?
Not in this one, because I think there's a little bit more top-level class than Belclair here. Darcy Labella, obviously, her record's outstanding. Yeah, if there was one, just Zola Express is a Group 2 winner of an Awapuni Gold Cup. I know this is shorter than what she'd be looking for, but she's a horse I'd give some sort of chance. Secret of More will be burning home. Spoke to Robbie Patterson earlier this week, and he's really happy with the way she's progressing into this one. He's just wanting to see enough speed in the race, and obviously Jodlin Gal there with some ability and a key contender as well. Ray Stevens in there, that's really interesting. I'm picking that this might be a chance because I'm pretty sure Bevan Sweeney is actually working tomorrow. He's been off work every time Ray Stevens has raced, and we've seen Ray Stevens run down the track a lot lately. So with Bevan staying away, maybe Ray Stevens is some sort of hope.
BP, I think we mentioned Ray Stevens last time out, and Bevan Sweeney wasn't going to be on track, and it looked like Ray Stevens missed Bevan that time. Can you slot Ray Stevens in somewhere?
Look, it was too bad to be true, wasn't it? And I know, speaking to Bevan, very frustrated with her performance last week or a couple of weeks ago. But yes, he will be there. He will be there to give her a big cuddle pre and post race. Blinkers go on for her. She's got a barrier draw where she can hopefully take a spot. So, look, she's at a big price considering with where we've seen her in some of these type of races in previous starts and Opanaki Cups and those type of races where she hasn't been at $21. So if she can turn around her form, she's going to have to do it massively, though. That defeat behind Butler was, as I said, too bad to be true from her. And I look forward to Aiden covering the Harwater meeting tomorrow in the studio as he'll be looking to find us a few winners with Bevan there on track.
This is the first I've heard of this, BP. I thought with Swings must have been covering it. I thought I was in to do the Punters Lounge Live, help you out with a few throws into Matamata. I thought that Swings was covering Harwater, so this has come as a surprise to me, I've got to say.
Wow, it looks like Ray Stevens could be a wee bit of a smoky there at Harwater. Is there anyone else there that you can actually throw in there, BP or Aiden? I'm a Rockaby, fairly solid at $16.
Yeah, look, I'm a Rockabee's a horse who ran very strongly as a 3-year-old. I mean, I keep going back to the day that it was shut out of a pretty important gap at a crucial stage at Hawkes Bay with I'm a Rockabee, and it's come back well. There is some top-heavy form in the race, isn't there? And but she was impressive with what she did last time at New Plymouth and put them away. Ace Lawson Carroll's riding well. 56.5 in a weight for age race for her. We go against horses, with only a kilo off, half a kilo off some of those better ones at the top. If she can produce something like her absolute best, then she could be a top 4 contender. I keep coming back to Jodlin Gal. I think she's a horse that the barrier draw, if she can use her draw and can take some sort of spot, would be nice. If she's 3 or 4 back the fence, she should get a soft run in transit. She can get through heavy track conditions. Runs up to her Group 1 form at her last start to the races. She's had a good trial since. Yeah, I thought she was a smoky, and the $8 is taken, but there's still a price there around her that I'm happy to be on.
Okay, BP, it sounds like your money's going on Jodlin Gal. Anything else in here that you want to mention?
Oh, look, I think Secret Amour and Darcy Labella, I mean, they picked themselves with what they've done. They're both high-quality mares. As Aiden said, Secret Amour will be stonking home, and with the way that she gets home, she might be the one that's just roaring over the top of them, to be honest with you. Very good run most recently, first up to the races, and Darcy Labella, it's an Alan Sharrock trained runner in the New Plymouth region. Massive respect because she's a quality horse.
Aiden, it sounds like you've got the similar numbers, maybe in a slightly different order?
Yeah, I'm with Darcy Labella. One thing we have learnt this morning, we can put a line through through Ray Stevens, can't we now?
All the best to Bevan Sweeney and the connections. Looking forward to a big race on Saturday. Right, I think it's time for us to get to our best bets. And we'll start with you, BP.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go a slightly different angle, and we've been talking a lot about Quinellas. I'm going to take the Quinella in the Group 1 around Imperatriz and La Creek. Fixed Quinella, I think you told us, Paulie, was around 240, was it? 240? 220? Yep. 240? 240, yep. So I'm happy to take that. I think it's a chance to see 2 really good horses at it. They're drawn right next door to each other. The race could pan out for both of them. La Creek's work here on Wednesday was scintillating from reports, and I've heard it from a number of different people. She worked up against the rail here. She came home in 34 for her last 600. Imperatriz is flying as well at the same time. So, look, we could see something very special between these 2 horses. So I'm happy to mark them down as the bet of the week, the Quinella at 240 in the Group 1 Arrowfield.
Fantastic. I think it must be me next then. And I do like the look of a bestseller. It was a wonderful fresh-up win at Taupo, and then followed up by another victory at Hastings, which I think is what we see here. Draws one, Sam Spratt on board, so she'll probably be able to dictate exactly what sort of tactics she imposes on this race. She had no right winning at Taupo fresh up, and just showed a whole lot of speed. So bestseller for mine, I think around the 350 mark at the moment. And although Stephen's not here with us, he has sent through his best bet for this week, and I believe it's Wild Night. That's right. Yeah, and wouldn't surprise me to see those tangerine colours salute the judge a number of times on Saturday up there at Matamata. That's in race 3 at Matamata, Wild Night. Yes, yep. Right, we've got our boosted odds poll up there. So the 4 runners that we've got for you this weekend: Stella Splendida, race 5 at Matamata; Imperatriz, race 9 at Matamata; Sans Doute, Hawera, race 2; and Fleming, Hawera, race 3. Just go to the poll on Twitter at TAB Racing and vote, and leave a comment as well. And if you do leave a comment, you'll go in the draw for a chance to win a $100 bonus bet, and the 2 top vote getters out of those 4 runners there will be boosted by the bookies on Saturday. So Stella Splendida, Imperatriz, Sans Doute, and Fleming. And of course, we've got a number of promotions: the no deductions, no surprises all spring long. So you can bet with a lot of confidence early. Also, we have an enhanced bonus back promotion this weekend. It's the first 4 races from Matamata, Caulfield, Randwick and Hawera. And this time, if you run 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th, you can get a bonus bet up to $50 back into your account. Just check out all the T's and C's on the TAB website. Of course, we've also got Express Payout now, where the bookies will pay out the final field, the fixed odds markets on the preliminary results. And of course, the dead heat rules, and that came into play, I think, in the Epsom last Saturday, BP.
Yeah, a number of times. There was a couple of races over on Saturday. Well, of course, as you said, the Group 1, and there was a race at Morfettville not too long after that as well. That was a dead heat, so full payout for those that were able to have a bet on the fixed odds. I mean, a super day of racing across the Tasman, and things are really going to go to another level now. We've got the Caulfield Guineas, of course. A great chance to take in the 2-rack too, because I Wish I Win. This horse has just gone to another level with his performances since arriving in Australia. He's around $2.50. I was pretty close to making him my bet of the weekend. I did that on the form. He's a horse that, look, if you go over his New Zealand form, he did run 3rd behind Imperatriz in the Levin Classic before he went to Australia. His last win at Sandown was just, it was breathtaking, because he was in a tricky spot. And then once he got out and he got into that fresh air, he powered up and really was super impressive with how he won that I Wish I Win. So looking forward to seeing him take his place in the Group 1 2-rack. Of course, you've got the Might and Power, which is a key race towards the Cox Plate with Animo around that $2.30 mark, and the Caulfield Guineas. So it's a great day of racing coming out of Caulfield. And then, of course, we then start rolling into next week, where it will be the Everest and the Caulfield Cup and Livermore Day. That's all in one tomorrow, next Saturday. So there's some great racing coming up across the Tasman, Paul.
Just sticking with that Might and Power, if you remember back to our Bledisloe Cup promotion, where we gave away 21 $5,000 bonus bets, well, one punter has decided to use his $5,000 bonus bet on Moanga each way in the Might and Power on Saturday. for a potential return of just under $30,000. So keep an eye out for Moanga and
Yes.
share home this punter and his $5,000 bonus bet. Aidan, anything over the ditch that you're keen on seeing go round this weekend?
Yeah, really keen on seeing one on the Caulfield Guineas. Got a tiny share, a small share in Lethal Thoughts for Kieran Maher and David Eustace. Michael D does our riding in the Caulfield Guineas. This horse is running really well. Ran 5th or 6th in the JJ Atkins up in Brisbane. Has come back with just a rain-affected run when it was making ground in Sydney, headed down to Melbourne last time out, but got into that real heavy rain last time out. So they're rolling the dice, and what isn't a vintage Caulfield Guineas. So, yeah, we'd love to see Lethal Thoughts really fly for us in that one. On Saturday, but big racing, as BP said, both sides of the Tasman. And yeah, I agree. I wish I win. Geez, he's just gone from strength to strength in Australia. And who knows, where do they go now? It's a Golden Eagle favourite, but I think they are favouring maybe going towards a Cox Plate, but they'll know more after Saturday's race.
Well, all the best of luck there, Aidan. And BP, it's a big sporting weekend as well. The Women's Rugby World Cup kicking off up there in Auckland with a triple header. Is there? Do you give the Black Ferns a chance?
Massive chance. There's some great power plays actually there. Stacey Fuller and Hideni to score 5 or more combined tries in the tournament at $3.50. There's a chance that they will potentially get in amongst a game where there could be a blowout or two, and it could be in the first game. So for them to combine for 5 or more tries is a power play I like. We've seen the Black Ferns take a lot of money as well, Paul, through that outright market. Of course, England's been well supported throughout that, but it's a market that's moving around the Black Ferns. It's going to be a massive start, isn't it, with these 3 matches at Eden Park. I'd look at some of those point starts, Paul. I think some of those point starts where, some of those games might be a touch one-sided. You could look towards, trying to play a few of those games if there's a big blowout in the favourites' favour. Certainly start rolling it through a few of those Australian races throughout the evening. And, of course, the NPC finals are about to roll around. And Bangladesh and Pakistan, they find themselves in a very chilly destination for a little T20 series up against the Black Caps. So it's all on upcoming over the next few weeks.
Yeah, the Black Caps do look like a very, very good bet. It looks like a wee bit too cold for our visitors here to the shores. So a huge weekend of sports, huge weekend of racing, certainly up there at Matamata. Thanks once again to our very, very special guest, Aidan Rodley, who has been superb. Aidan, thank you very much.
Might be able to be with you for the next few weeks as well, because the TAB is sending me on the road, and we might be able to just tag into the leg up with a little bit of Australian oil in the next few weeks as well, Paul.
Oh, fantastic. That's something to look forward to. And BP, thank you again for joining us trackside at Matamata on a beautiful day. Hopefully that continues tomorrow and we see some great racing, BP.
I think we will, Paul. And this weather, it's nice and warm. There's a nice little gentle breeze coming across the track now. So it's good drying conditions. So, yeah, make sure if you're in the region, you get on down here. It's 12 races. First race just after 11, a Group 1, Group 2, Matamata Cup, a key 3-year-old races we mentioned. So there's so much to look forward to. And, Paul, the leg up's on the road. Next week, we're coming live from Hawkes Bay for Livermore Classic Day. So looking forward to catching up with the whole crew as we bring in what's going to be a massive day, and it will be Punter of the Year next Saturday too, out of the Bay.
Yeah, plenty to look forward to next week, and a huge weekend of sport and racing. Thanks for joining us here on the Leg Up, and don't forget to tune in next week, where we'll be back, as Brendan said, live from Hastings on Livermore Day, or the day before Livermore Day.